Hello and welcome to NIDA Group's tutorial for the admin portal for the Rosetta Health set of products. This includes any direct accounts that are HISPDirect accounts, that product, or the patient portal, the community portals, or the physicians portals. So this is going to be a quick overview. We're not going to get into the details about all the functions, but we are going to show you how to operate each function. If any of the terminology is confusing, I would refer you either to some of the documentation that's out there, or you can submit a request into support, an email request at support@hisdirect.com. The basic two terminologies is in this administrative portal, there should be two different roles that are going in, either a domain administrator or a facility administrator. The domain controls an entire domain, that being a vendor, usually a vendor name.com on that order. A facility administrator would be somebody who is at a healthcare organization, so at a hospital or a practice, and just administering the counts on that. I'm going to log in as a domain administrator because they have more functionality that they can access. Facility administrator interface will look the same, you just won't have as many features. So let me log in to the portal. And the first thing that it comes up on is the list of direct accounts. Because of all of these technologies are based off of direct, that's where you start. And you can say there's a list here of all the direct accounts that that administrator has purview over. So if you look, there's the address that the alternate is an alternate email. If they put in an email, we encourage you to put in that for notification purposes when it was created in some actions. All of the lists in all of our products are, you can page through them, but probably the easiest way to go through is to search. So if I'm looking for a particular account or a particular item in a list, I can just type in the first letters and it will, I don't even have to hit return. And you can see that this is only those ones that have those letters are in there. So if I say test 11, then you can see only the account that was test 11 shows up. So that's a nice feature. You don't have to hit the little search button. It automatically will search through the list for you. You will notice that on direct accounts there is a strike through on some of them. What this means is that the account has been marked for deletion. So with direct accounts, when that account is deleted, we have a certain period of time, usually 72 hours, before we actually remove the data. The account will be disabled, but we leave the data in there in case there's any requests for PHI. And you have to make those requests. Because the account's disabled, you have to make the request to support@hisdirect.com if there would need to be recovered any PHI in there. The basic functions that you can do on direct accounts are you can either create it, you can remove it, or you can change the password and associated data with it. So let's start off by creating a new direct account. And I'm going to type in a username. So one of the interesting things here, I'm putting in all this information, you do have to put in all the information, is I've added a new subdomain. When we talk about a new subdomain, this is what we mean. So this domain can be used for maybe a facility, that could be Bay Area Pediatrics, that could be Facility 1, that could be a hospital name. You can set up users in their own subdomain, particularly for certificates, which is beyond the scope of this, why you might want to put those in that. But you can talk to some of our operations folks if you want to know when you want to implement a subdomain. I'm doing that here because I want to show you a particular functionality that when I create this account here, you'll notice that it says if you have not requested a certificate for this domain, then you should go and fill out the certificate. One of the things that's important is that every domain or subdomain should have a certificate in it. And this link right here will take you to the certificate request form. So if I do that, you can see here's the certificate request form, where when that certificate is needed, you need to know the organization. So this is usually a practice or a hospital. The address information about that organization, who will be responsible for that certificate in that organization. So you need to have somebody who's an employee of that organization who's responsible. And here's the requested subdomain. You can see that's already been pre-filled in. So what's important about this is that this link right here actually pre-fills in the subdomain, which helps you if you're going to have your customers make their own certificate requests. So you can just send them that link. If you copy that link, if you right-click and say copy link, you can email them that and say, please go out and fill this out. If you want to fill it out for them, that's fine. But we put that in there. So I wanted to show that. If I go back to the list and I'm going to sort, you'll notice there's two little carets that you can change how the sorting goes. So I'm sorting on the column created, and you could say this demo test user 1 was just created with the subdomain I mentioned. I can go in and either remove this or change it. I'm going to change to show you the change functionality. So you can see when you use the little action buttons there, it already pre-fills in the direct address so that you don't have to change anything. And I'm going to change that email from test to test2. And you'll see that that shows up. You do have to fill out all the fields. Don't think that if you leave it blank, it'll change it. No, it'll set that to blank, which obviously is not good for a password. So I'm going to look at that account, and you can see that that has now changed to test2. So if I go to just change an account, I would have to type in that. So it's nice to do it off of the list and use these functions. Another thing that we can do is we can remove it. So if I want this demo test user removed, I can hit the remove button. You can see that it's pre-filled in that address, and I hit delete, and it will delete that direct account. And remember, as I said before, it's marked for deletion. If there was any information, we're going to keep that around for 72 hours just as a fail-safe. So that's what you can do with direct accounts. The functionality is very similar for portal users if you're using our patient portal. However, there's more information. So it's exactly the same functionality, except there's more information that you have to provide. Portal users have to be identified patient portal users, so it's requesting more information, and you can also add delegates in there. And that's straightforward. Those are all those attributes. The next set of features I want to show you is about facilities or administrators. So if you're a domain administrator and you want to set up some facilities, you can control those through here. So in here would be a list of all the facilities that you have created and control. And once again, you can do your searching on that. I'm going to just, you notice that the features on the left looked very similar to what you had for accounts, because they're the basic create, update, remove, and list them out. So I'm going to create a new facility account, which this might be somebody like if I want a healthcare organization to manage their own accounts, I would do this. So I could set up a account that's facility admin 1.demo1. Now, what you probably want to do when you're setting up your own facility admin is put their own facility in there. So whatever you want to name the facility, I would put that as a subdomain. So this is going to probably be something, might be something like Bay Pediatrics. You could, you're not limited. You could put it as 1, 2, 3, 4. You could put it as facility A if you have a certain numbering. But this is going to be, when I do it like this facility admin will only control everything that's in this subdomain. So I'll put a password in there. I'll put an email in here. I'm going to call them a test admin. So I'm going to create them. Notice again that it's going to say you might need a certificate for this. So if I create a new subdomain, just like when I create a facility, if I create a direct account in a new domain that doesn't have a certificate, it's going to ask me whether I want to create one. So that's very similar. And you can see here in the list, there's another attribute that maybe you didn't see before, this active. This active flag says that there is a digital certificate for that subdomain in there. So if I sort by what I just created this guy, and you can see that he's not active because I've created him, but there's no certificate in there. So when you can create administrators and accounts all you want, they will be real accounts, but they will not be able to exchange messages until a digital certificate that's appropriate for them is in place. And just like the direct addresses, you can see that there's create, there's remove and change, and you can access those from action. So I'm not going to show you those, but you can see you can go in here, and I could change that information. The last sort of major functional place is certificates. So you want to take a look and manage your certificates. You can see the list of your current certificates. So you notice it's going to tell you what domain or subdomain you're responsible for. Because I logged in as the domain admin, I have everything under this domain, direct HISPDev1, HISPDirect.com. This is a development area. That's why it looks so long. Normally that would be something like direct.yourcompanyname.com or .org. And you could see that the certificates that are either directly related to this domain or subdomains of it show up, and it will tell me their status, whether they're issued, whether they've been ordered and they're pending, what type of certificate it is, when the date it was ordered, and when its validity started and ended. So this is a good way to maintain your certificates. You also have a list to ordering a certificate. This is just a blank certificate order form there. You can use that if you know what you want right away and you don't want to use those other links. So this is a way to take a look at this. This is updated periodically. This is not immediately. So if I would go and place an order, it would probably take up to an hour before that status of that certificate shows up in this list. The last thing is there is an audit trail for all the activity you do as this user, whatever your administrator is. So it will list whatever the activity is. So you can see here it says this is the user I logged in as, and what I did was I updated this user account. If I sort by timestamp, you can see most recently, for example, I created that facility user right there. So all that's, and obviously you can search for that. So that's great that you have an audit trail of all your activities. That is an overview of the functionality in the admin portal. We're always welcome to feedback if you like. Hopefully this makes sense. And if you have any questions, you can ask them at support@HISPDirect.com, and we'd be happy to tell you what you can do. So happy direct messaging.